Hello, everyone, and blessed Samhain season. I hope everyone had a wonderful Samhain yesterday. Last evening, I performed my Samhain Ancestor Communication Pumpkin Carving spell that I have done several years before and shared in day 7 of the 13 Nights of Samhain challenge on October 25th. This spell started with me carving my pumpkin. I found a Triskelion stencil online, so I decided to use that. Because this spell is to communicate with my ancestors and help me gain wisdom from them, I don't like to use any scary faces like with the traditional jack-o'-lantern. I don't want anything that would potentially scare away my ancestors. I tend to choose designs that have some sort of pagan symbol or otherwise have meaning to me. The Triskelion design I chose this year is a triple spiral, representing the perpetual motion of the cycle of life, interconnectedness, and the triple goddess. In the past, I have done designs like a cat, a cauldron, a pentacle, and words such as Blessed Samhain. Samhain was the first Sabbath I ever celebrated as a pagan witch, and because of that, it holds a special place in my heart. As a kid, I always loved Halloween and carving pumpkins each year, so several years back, I wanted to find a way to incorporate that tradition into my pagan Samhain ritual. I came up with the idea of a spell to welcome in and connect with my ancestors, to honor them and to gain any wisdom they might have for me. I have performed this spell probably about 8 or 9 times now, including this year. Since the first time in 2015, I have changed it up a little here and there, and am happy with how it works now. I will usually start carving my pumpkin around 5 p.m. This means there is still enough light outside to be able to see while carving, but it's going to be getting dark soon, so I can perform the main part of the spell after it gets fully dark. While carving my pumpkin, I like to add my intentions into it, of honoring my ancestors and connecting with them. I like to meditate on memories of past loved ones as I carve my pumpkin. I like to think of all the good memories I have of people who are gone and whom I miss, and things that make me smile when I think of them. When I remove the insides of the pumpkin, I put them into a plastic grocery bag and set them aside. I like to add the insides of the pumpkin into my compost pile for my garden, and I save out some of the seeds that I roast as a part of the spell. I didn't save out all of the seeds as they are kind of hard to separate from the pumpkin guts, but I saved almost a cup's worth. I rinsed them off well with water and then dried them off some with a rag. I put them in a bowl and added about half a tablespoon of melted butter. Then I stirred them around to be sure they were all fully coated. There are different recipes with herbs and things you can add to give them flavoring too if you'd like. I decided to sprinkle mine with some cinnamon. I will leave a link down below that includes a few different options. I roasted them at 400 degrees for 20 minutes, stirring them halfway through. While the seeds were roasting, I worked on making my candle to put inside of my pumpkin. In previous years, I have done the more traditional method where you melt the wax, color it, and pour it into a mold. Usually I would do this a few days before Samhain so the candle was ready to be used on Samhain night. This year, however, I decided to make a more simple rolled beeswax candle. I used a pink colored wax as it symbolizes peace and love, which I'm hoping to bring to my ancestors. I'm only making a small candle because I won't need it to burn for too long for this ritual. As I roll up the wax, I add in a little bit of dried rosemary. Rosemary has many uses and is a good herb for remembrance of your ancestors and past loved ones. I had a little bit of issues with getting this wax to roll up how I wanted it to, but in the end, I got it shaped up okay. It was kind of trying to go off track on me though. Once done, I also rolled the candle into some rosemary to coat the outside a little. I don't want to add too much herbs and have it become a fire hazard though, so I was careful to just add a little bit. As always, I added my intention into the candle as I made it, as well as adding in a little extra energy to charge it at the end. Next, I added some herbs to the bottom inside of the pumpkin itself. First, I used ground cinnamon for healing and protection. Then, I also added some basil leaves for positive energy, mugwort to help connect to the other realm, and some sage I grew for wisdom from my ancestors. along with a little bit more of the rosemary. By that time, the pumpkin seeds had finished cooking. I removed them from the oven and placed them into a small bowl. I brought everything upstairs and placed them all on my ancestor altar. I also put a glass of water next to the bowl of pumpkin seeds. On the left side of the altar, I have my ancestor candle and an indigo gabbro heart crystal. Indigo gabbro is a stone that helps you connect to other realms and communicate with those who have passed on. I first lit the purple candle I made for my aunt, then lit my ancestor candle. Before putting my pink candle into the pumpkin, I first anointed it with some mint oil. This is just some olive oil that I mixed a few drops of peppermint essential oil into. I used a dropper to drip some of the oil onto the top of the candle as well as onto the sides. Then I used my hands and rubbed it all into the wax as I added my energy and intention. I'm short, and with the height of my dresser where I have my altar set up, I had a little trouble getting the candle into the pumpkin. I relit the long match, but I wasn't able to reach into the top of the pumpkin to light the candle, so instead I had to carefully reach into it from the front through the carving. I separated out 7 of the pumpkin seeds and was then ready for the first part of the incantation. Spirits of my ancestors who wish me well, I venerate you this evening at this altar with offerings and praises in your honor. I try to honor you in my daily life. All of my accomplishments and successes are a testament to your influences, no matter how direct or indirect. If you please, I ask you to open me to your wisdom so that I can go forward from here this year and make you proud. Please help me understand what I need to know to make better choices and continue to evolve and progress. I then held the 7 seeds in my hands and added my energy as I spoke. Fill these seeds with the power of your wisdom so that it may flourish within my heart and soul, so that I may draw from it as necessary and use it for the benefit of myself and all those I love. So mote it be. Next, I ate each of the 7 seeds one at a time, taking a drink of water after each one. I drank the rest of the water in the glass. Then I replaced the chalice on the altar and refilled the water. The pumpkin seeds and water were left as an offering for my ancestors. I then thanked them for their time and meditated for a few minutes, thinking about my past loved ones. I let the candles continue to burn as I sat down to write a letter to my aunt who had passed away unexpectedly last year. There were a lot of things I never got to say to her, so I decided to write her a letter. As I wrote, I held my indigo gabbro stone in my other hand. I then placed the sealed letter on my ancestor altar next to her photos and mementos and put the indigo gabbro stone back up there as well. Next, it was time to do some divination to connect with my ancestors and see what messages they had for me. To do this, I moved over to my main altar I had and moved some of the Samhain decorations out of the way to make room for my cards. I used my new deck from Wise Spell called the Neoteric Feminine Tarot. It is good for beginners because it has some keywords printed on the cards for both the upright and reversed meanings, which I have found very helpful. I drew 7 cards using a spread I came up with that was inspired by a few spreads I found online about connecting with ancestors and receiving their messages. After drawing my cards, I contemplated their meanings for a while. I'm still new to tarot, so I have some trouble interpreting the card meanings in relation to my spread and the questions I am asking. Because of this, I then used my pendulum to ask some clarifying questions about how I was interpreting the cards. I didn't show that part because I don't want y'all to see what cards I actually drew for my spread since that's personal. I don't mind sharing some of my practice online with y'all, but some things need to remain private. Now that Samhain is over, I will cut up the pumpkin and return it to the earth by adding it into my compost pile so that it can benefit my garden and add nutrients to it next year. I will also add the roasted pumpkin seeds and water I left as an offering to my compost pile after 3 days. I hope you all had a blessed Samhain and a happy Witches' New Year. I would really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my videos. Leave me a comment and let me know how your Samhain went. Did you do anything special? Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.